السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام الأتمان الأكملان على نبينا الأمين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، الحمد لله الذي أحيانا بعدما أماتنا وإليه النشور. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as we meet to continue with our weekly darsas, still with the Matn Abi Shuja' rahimahullah tabaraka wa ta'ala. And today inshallah ta'ala we'll be proceeding to Faslun fi Shara'iti Wujub as-Salah, conditions for Salah, things that we are supposed to fulfill before entering into the Salah. And ulama has divided these shuruts into three, as we are going to see through the explanation of Al-Qadi Abu Shuja', into two groups: shurutu wujub wa shurutu sihha. They are conditions that they are supposed to be available in an individual for him to be in a position to pray, that the salah becomes wajib upon him. And then there are other conditions which are shurutu sihha, which these conditions must be found before his salah so that his salah can be sahih. So yes, he is obliged to pray, he has fulfilled the conditions that now he's in a position to establish the prayer. Again, there are other conditions that are supposed to be considered for that particular salah to be valid. So we start with shurutu wujub, and the Shaykh says, وَشَرَائِطُ وُجُوبِ الصَّلَاةِ ثَلَاثَةُ أَشْيَاء. And the conditions for salah to be obligatory upon an individual are three. أَوَّلُهَا أَوْ أَحَدُهَا الْإِسْلَامُ. The first one is Al-Islam. One has to subscribe to the faith of Islam, to the religion of Islam, for he to be in a position to establish salah. And normally when the scholars talk about this condition, they discuss whether furu'ul ibadat, are they wajib upon the non-Muslim or not. A person who is not a Muslim, is he required to establish the salah? Yes, he has to establish the salah, but after fulfilling this particular condition. On the day of Qiyamah, will they be asked whether they established the salah or not? Yes, they will be answerable before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for not praying, for not fasting, because they are required to do so. لذلك يقول الله تعالى في القرآن: ما سلككم في سقر قالوا لم نك من المصلين وَلَمْ نَكُ نُطْعِمُ الْمِسْكِينَ وَكُنَّا نَخُوضُ مَعَ الْخَائِضِينَ وَكُنَّا نُكَذِّبُ بِيَوْمِ الدِّينِ. So they never used to believe in the hereafter. وَكُنَّا نُكَذِّبُ بِيَوْمِ الدِّينِ. And because of that, they were non-believers. But still, on the day of Qiyamah, when they are asked, what made you find yourselves in Jahannam? One of the things that they will mention is that we never used to establish the prayers. So the first condition for an individual to establish the salah or any other ibadah, he has to be a Muslim. Today we have individuals who fast the holy month of Ramadan, saying that we are showing solidarity with our Muslim brothers and sisters, with our workmates. So such individuals, we better advise them that if you are inclined towards that, then just pronounce the Shahada for you to get the reward. There is a masjid around here whereby there is an individual who attends every Salatul Fajr. He is not a Muslim. He is yet to pronounce the Shahada. But every Fajr, you will find him there at the masjid. And even the Imam and the rest of the people, they have allowed him. Because he insists that I just feel the peace when I come to this place. And mostly he comes Salatul Fajr. And when there is a darsa like this, he will sit and listen. But he's not a Muslim. So unfortunately, such individual, his ibadah will not be accepted. Why? Because he has not yet received the key. The kalima is yet to be pronounced. There are some individuals in this dunya who are very good human beings, who are doing so many humanitarian activities, assisting hundreds of people, and unfortunately, they are not ready to pronounce the Shahada, to recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the only creator and only one who deserves to be worshipped. So those individuals, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward them in this dunya in several ways. But if they die while they are not Muslims, then unfortunately they will have nothing before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because the condition for any ibadah to be accepted is al-Islam. So the first condition is al-Islam, for the salah to be wajib upon an individual. So before a person accepts Islam, we will not tell him to pray, we will not tell him to fast, but we will convey the message to him to show him the beauty of Islam, for him to accept Islam, to pronounce the Shahada, and then afterwards the rest of the ibadats will follow. The second condition is al-bulugh, for one to reach the age of the puberty. So before that, a child will be encouraged to pray. A child will be made to practice prayers and other ibadats. And if he prays while he is 7 years and above, even if he is not yet reached the age of the puberty, then such a child will be rewarded. His parents will be rewarded for training him and showing him the way. But if he does the sins below the age of the puberty, he will not get sins. And this is he will not get any, if he does any ma'asiyah, he will not get any punishment, or the sins will not be recorded against him. And this is among the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And how will we know that a child has reached a puberty? So in the madhab of Imam Shafi'i, they normally mention three things. The first thing that is mentioned is that if a child has reached the age of 15 years. 15 years as per the lunar years, the Islamic years. Because if you count these normal years, then the child will have reached 15 years, but we will still consider him to be a child. And this is a mistake that still is happening among some of the Muslim parents, unfortunately. You will find a very grown-up child, especially among the girls, a Muslim girl who is 12 years, 14 years, 15 years, and the parents still consider this child to be a child, that he's still under the age of the puberty. If you look at the girl, she's grown up, but she doesn't wear hijab, she doesn't cover herself when there are ajnabis at home, she doesn't cover herself when she goes out with her parents, and if you ask the parents, say, she's still 12 years. She's still 13 years, she's still a child. So this is a mistake that we do, even if she's a child. And children are different. You can look at a child who is 10 years compared to another child who is 10 years, but their physical appearance is completely different. One of them seems to be tall, grown up, and the other one you can say, indeed, she's still 7 or 8, considering the body or the kind of physical appearance that Allah has granted them. So it is important that these ibadats, the children start practicing as early as 7 years, including the hijab, so that by the time they approach the age of puberty, they are already getting used to this ibadat. So salah, we know the child has reached the age of puberty once a child is at the age of 15 years. The child was born, let's say, 1430, and by 1445, that child has reached the age of puberty. Even if the normal years that we use, she's still 13, she's still 14, but in the Islamic years, she has attained the age of puberty, and she has to perform, or he has to perform his ibadat. The second that scholars mention is the wet dream. When a child experiences the wet dream, even if he is still below 15, below 14, 13 years, then that child has achieved the age of puberty. And the third one is the menstrual cycle for the girls. So even if the girl is below 13, below 14, below 10 years, but she sees her menstrual cycle, then that child has attained the age of puberty and she is an adult and she has to perform her ibadats correctly. But this is not below 9 years. Because the madhab of Shafi'i, we are taught that whatever comes, the blood that comes when a child is below 9 years, that will not be considered to be hayd. It will be considered to be damul istihada. But if the girl is 8 years, 15 days and above, and she sees the blood, then that blood will be considered to be hayd, and she should start performing her ibadah. But if she is 8 years and below, even if she sees the blood, then that blood will not be considered to be hayd, and she will still be considered to be a child. So whatever comes from 9 years and above, even if she is below 15, 14, 13, 12, then she has to start advised that she should perform her ibadats. These are the three signs that in the madhab of Shafi'i, we are told the signs to know the age of the puberty. And in other madhahib, they also mention the public hair. The public hair, when once it is experienced, once it grows, then that child is considered to be reached the age of the al-bulugh. So this is the second condition, al-Islam, al-bulugh. And the third condition is al-aqlu. Al-aqlu, a person should be sin. So if a person is in sin, then that individual, the ibadats will not be, he's not to be obliged, he's not to be bounded to perform the ibadat. The rules of Sharia will not be required from him. So these are the three conditions that if are found in an individual, then he is obliged to perform, to be within the Islamic rules, to be abided by the Islamic rules and regulations, and this is known as at-taklif. So once a person has fulfilled these three conditions, then he is referred to as al-mukallaf, that now he has to know the Islamic rulings and to act accordingly. Finally, for today, after mentioning this shurutul wujub, the condition that must be found in an individual for him now to become a mukallaf, Sheikh mentions some of the salawat al-masnoonah, the sunnah prayers. And he says, وَالصَّلَوَاتُ الْمَسْنُونَاتُ خَمْسٌ. And the sunnah prayers are 5. And by this he means the sunnah prayers, the emphasized sunnah prayers that's supposed to be prayed in jama'ah. So here he just mentioned, and then explanation will come later. And he says, al-Eidani, the two Eids, Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha, wal-Kusufani, lunar and solar eclipse, wal-Istisqa, and the rain prayers. So these are 5 prayers, al-Eidani, al-Kusufani, wal-Istisqa. These are kind of the prayers that are sunnah mu'akkada, highly emphasized, and they are required to be prayed in Salatul Jama'ah. So of course we know the differences which are there among the scholars, whether Salatul Eidain are fard, wajib, or sunnah mu'akkada. But in the madhab of Al-Imam Al-Shafi'i rahimahullah, they have concluded that it is sunnah mu'akkada. Then Sheikh says, وَالسُّنَنُ التَّابِعَ لِلْفَرَائِضِ. And the sunnah, among the sunnah mu'akkada, the sunnah which are combined with al-fara'id, either qabliyah or al-ba'diyah. And these are normally known as al-rawatib. Rawatib are sunnahs that the Prophet ﷺ always prayed. He never failed to pray the sunnahs. And in case he is busy or he forgets, he will make up at a later time. And Sheikh says this Sunan al-Rawatib, they are 17 raka'atan. They are 17 raka'ats. So these 17 raka'ats, qabliyas and ba'diyas, these are sunnah mu'akkada. Among the sunnah mu'akkada, they are rawatib. The rawatib are the ones which come either before or after salah. And these are mentioned in the hadith of Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu anhu. The 12th rakah, when a Muslim prays, he gets a house in the Jannah of Allah. In some narrations, they are 12. In the same narrations, they are 10. And Sheikh says they are 17. So these 17 are those 12 plus some others that the Sheikh will mention. And he says, Raka'ata al-Fajr. So the first two are 2 rakahs before Fajr, and we know the importance of those 2 rakahs before Fajr. وَأَرْبَعٌ قَبْلَ الظُّهُرِ, and 4 rakahs before Dhuhr. وَرَكَعَتَانِ بَعْدَهُ, and 2 rakahs after Salatul Dhuhr. And of course we know there is another hadith where the Prophet says, مَنْ حَافَظَ أَرْبَعًا قَبْلَ الظُّهُرِ وَأَرْبَعًا بَعْدَ الظُّهُرِ بعد نجاه الله من النار أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. So whoever sticks to 4 rakahs before Dhuhr, and this 4 meaning 2 then 2 and 4 rakahs after Dhuhr, then that will be a reason for him to be kept away from Jahannam. But Sheikh mentioned وَرَكَعَتَانِ بَعْدَهُ, meaning the other 2 are not emphasized, are not sunnah mu'akkada. وَأَرْبَعٌ قَبْلَ الْعَصْرِ, and 4 rakah قبل العصر. So this 4 rakah qabla al-asr, they are not among the 12, but they are among the sunnah mu'akkada, whereby a sahabi says Rasulullah used to pray 4 rakah before asr, 2 then 2. In another narration, Rasulullah said, Man salla rahimallahu imra'an salla arba'an qabla al-asr. May Allah's mercy be upon an individual who prays 4 rakah before asr. So they are not among the rawatib, but they are among the sunnahs that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam practiced. وَرَكَعَتَانِ بَعْدَ الْمَغْرِبِ, and 2 rakahs after Maghrib. And this is one of the 2 most emphasized rakahs after the 2 rakahs of Fajr. And they are very similar with the 2 rakahs before Fajr, because in both the 2 rakah before Fajr and 2 rakah after Maghrib, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to make them very short. In both, Rasulullah used to recite قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ in the first rakah and قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ in the second rakah. The 2 before Fajr and the 2 after Maghrib. And this to show that the day begins with Tawheed and ends with Tawheed, because both surahs, they talk about Tawheed. And then وَثَلَاثٌ بَعْدَ الْعِشَاءِ بِوِتْرٍ يُوتِرُ بِوَاحِدَةٍ مِّنْهُنَّ. And then 3 rakah after Salatul Isha, and 1 of them will act as a witr. So 2 as rawatib, and then 1 as witr. And this means that witr is among the emphasized salahs, and the minimum rakahs for Salatul Witr is 1 rakah, and it can go up to 11 rakahs. So inshallah ta'ala, more explanation about this sunnah prayers we will have next week bi'idhnillahi tabaraka wa ta'ala, about the sunnah mu'akkadas and those who are not mu'akkad, and how to pray Salatul Witr, the format of praying witr, and Salatul Layl, among many other sunnah prayers that Sheikh will mention for us. Jazakallahu khairan. Until then, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us tawfiq. Allahumma arina al-haqqa haqqan warzuqna tiba'ah, wa arina al-batila batilan warzuqna ijtinabah. Allahumma inna nas'aluka al-huda wat-tuqa wal-afafa wal-ghina. Allahumma inna nas'aluka ilman nafi'a wa rizqan tayyibah wa 'amalan mutaqabbala. Allahumma farrij 'anna wa 'an jami' al-muslimin. Allahumma aslih ahwalana wa ahwal al-muslimin fi kulli makan. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina عذاب النار. وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد والحمد لله رب العالمين وجزاكم الله خيرا والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.